All right, guys, here I go. I'm gonna try to answer your questions as best as I can. Um, I'm gonna, Dale, man, like you hit me up with like 1,000 questions. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to answer all of those. Not on this. People probably fall asleep. Um, trying to get all these answers. But I'm gonna start with Vanilla Rabbit because she was first. She asked two questions. She said, she's quoting me, about the problems of mankind, and I said because it's the lack of the presence of God, and Jesus made a way for us to come back into His presence. And then she says, in her own words, that it annoys her, because I say my God and Jesus is not the. She says my God and Jesus is not the only key, if a key at all, to creating a better world. People of all beliefs contribute to creating a better world. Many people have found meaning and value in beliefs outside the Christian belief, including atheism. Same way many have found it within the Christian belief. Okay, my response to that is this. You're right. I agree that there's many people in this world that have good hearts and they desire to do good and they do good. All right. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the fundamental reason why people are selfish and people are greedy is because of sin. And Jesus didn't just come to make a better world. That's a result of people that are truly following Jesus. The world would become better. But Jesus actually came to deal with the thing in us that causes us to cause this world to be the way it is today. Okay? I mean, we can talk about the tree all day long, but if the root isn't dealt with or if the tree isn't cut down, that thing that sprouts without out of our heart that causes us to do bad or evil or sin, it's always going to occur. It's always going to happen. So Jesus came to actually deal with that more than anything else. Um, and I mean, I know, I guess your response is too, because I was answering, to an earlier post that talked about, where's your God if this is happening, so obviously we were talking about actions, that people do, and that's how that whole conversation came about. But I'm not just saying that Jesus came to create a better world. Believe me, I believe that Jesus came to fix what's broken, and I believe, and I'm just being honest, guys. I mean, I'm not trying to, you know, to get on your to get you upset, but I'm gonna just tell you what I believe. I believe that it's arrogant to ignore the root of the problem. I believe it's arrogant to say I can do it by myself, but knowing you really can't. Because you may be compassionate in the sense of, I'm not doing these wicked and greedy things that other men are doing, but I've never met one person in my life that had absolutely no greed in their heart or any wickedness at all in their heart or their mind or their thoughts or even what they desire they would do. If you met one, I'd like to meet them. The only person that I know that has met that criteria is Jesus Christ, and that's the reason why he came. So we who don't do things like that or who don't believe that people should be taken advantage of, which is a great thing, we can't stand in judgment and say, well, I may only have, if you admit this, you may not admit that we all have some type of greed and selfishness within us. But if you do admit that, how then what's the standard? Is it, do you make the standard to say, well, these people shouldn't be uh, taking advantage of other people, which you should be, but you and I still have the same nature, and in smaller, more minute ways, we do the same thing that they do. Who sets the standard? Who says how wrong is? You? Well, I believe that God does, because I believe he defines and he showed us what sin is, and he shows us the consequences of it. I believe that's one of the problems with many people have that don't believe in God. They believe that, why would a God of love judge people for doing seemingly small sins? To me, what that looks like to me, or to God, the way he expresses it and the way I understand it after I came to know him, is like this. Okay, we've seen, like, in India and Africa, documentaries and stuff like that with people that are drinking like nasty, dirty water, or bathing in filthy water that's disease, that's killing them. Okay, you and I in the Bahamas, because we have access to clean water, we would never do that. I would never drink that type of water. I would never take a bath in that type of water. But to them, that's normal. That's all they have. That's normal water. Well, you, because you've come from a different perspective and you've come from a different place where you've actually had clean water, you know how bad that really is, but they don't. Okay? God's perspective says, from God's perspective, he says, I can see sin for what it really is, but because you were born in it, meaning, we inherited a sinful nature from our flesh, from our forefathers, and you live in it and you do it all the time, you think it, you speak it all the time, you're used to doing that. But it's terrible, but you just don't see it. Because obviously, again, from my perspective, we were made in his image and likeness. We were made originally to be perfect. Okay? And if we try to say that we're perfect already or we're becoming perfect, it's ignoring the big elephant in the room. Okay, the big elephant in the room says that there's more violence, there's more hatred, there's more murder. I mean, all it is the manifestation of what's in the human heart coming to fruition in our world. Okay, so the solution can't be just uh, my good or your good. There has to be, I believe, there has to be one ultimate good, one ultimate standard. And if that standard was lived by, which no man can live by that standard, unless the Maker comes and enables us to live by that standard again, as we were originally intended to, we are not going to have a better world, no matter how much you wish for it, no matter how many people you give to, no matter how many charities you support. And we do these things. But the heart of man, like the Bible says, is deceitfully wicked above all things. We can see that in our world today. Who can know it? And Jesus said that he made the heart of man and he's the only person that can fix it, or rather renew it. Okay. And again, like I said earlier, I believe it's arrogant to know the problem and try to solve it when we know the solution is not working. Okay. My personal life, and you know what, forgive me guys if I'm being long. I mean, I don't mean to be, but I just have to tell you where I'm coming from. In my personal life, I know I wrote it in the post a little bit. My personal life was when I was 14 years old. I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, in the ghetto, in the hood, no father figure. So, basically, if I didn't live like the people in my surrounding area, if I didn't do what they did and live like they lived, they'd beat me down every day. So I did. I became just like them. Partly because of that, and partly because in my own heart, I wanted to make a lot of money quick. I wanted to, I wanted to be like everybody else. I wanted the things that everybody else wanted. So I started selling crack cocaine at the age of 14 years old. Um, a year later, I got kicked out of high school. uh, I was a wicked dude. I loved sin, the depths of sin. I mean, I really loved it. I did not, my conscience was so seared and it was so beyond, it was very hard. It was very cold. I was a very cold person. Um, the year, and then when by the time I was 16 years old, moved to Cleveland, Ohio, where um, I stopped doing some of the things that I was doing, but I was able to go back to school, repeated a year in school because of the getting kicked out, um, and I had a longing for truth, like many of you guys. I wanted to know truth. I wanted to know what my purpose was. I wanted to know if there was a God. Um, why am I here? Like a question that a lot of people ask, and I did believe that there was a God. I didn't necessarily believe in the God of the Bible, but I believed that there was a creator, but I didn't know him. And I really didn't, you know, I didn't want to be a religious person, to be honest with you. And I still don't want to be a religious person. But um, I began to read different books and study different religions and stuff like that. And I kind of got into the Rastafarian stuff. I used to smoke a lot of weed. So that kind of, just being honest with you, I just kind of, I fit that mold. And I know those guys that listen to, they would read a lot of this, they make the songs based on a lot of scriptures and stuff like that. So I began to read some of the Bible, and I literally open the Bible, read a few scriptures in there, and I'd close it, and I'd say, God, if this is your word, there's no way I could live like this. I cannot do the things that Jesus said I can do in this Bible. For instance, if Jesus said, if you love me, follow my commandments. I know I couldn't live like that, or I didn't want to live like that. I had no desire, because I loved my lifestyle. And but as I began to read it more and more to get inspiration for the songs and stuff, even though I didn't believe it, which is a crazy thing. Um, what ended up happening was I came in the house, man, so high one night. My mom, she looked at me and she said some words to me about my life and where it was heading and stuff like that. I just went into my bedroom and I prayed a prayer and I said, God, if you don't want me living like I'm living, change me. That's all I said. And I didn't really expect to change. I didn't really, I didn't expect anything. I just was like, I felt like I hurt my mom's, her feelings or whatever, and I felt really guilty for it. So I prayed that prayer, and I made a decision. Okay, I'm gonna stop doing these things. I'm gonna get my life back on track. Like that lasted for 1 week. I lasted for a week. The weekend came, and I did exactly, fell right back into some of the things that I told myself I would never do. But what actually had ended up happening was the first thing that happened was Friday night. My friends came knocking on the door, and they asked me, "Hey, let's go to this party or whatever." And when we started to go to the party, I uh, I was like, should I go? Should I not? I know what was going to happen if I did. And I did. I went down, excuse me, as soon as we got downstairs, we started smoking joints, but I couldn't get high. Now, this was crazy to me because I always, I used to get high every day. So I was like thinking to myself, what in the world is going on? Why am I not getting high? And I smoked like 2 or 3 joints and I couldn't get high. So by the time we got to this party, because we walked there, I was sitting down in a chair and I didn't even want to dance. I didn't want to talk to any girls. I was feeling, you know, bad on the inside, and I was trying to figure out what's the problem. So bad, in fact, I told my friends I'm going back home. 30 minutes later, after being at the party, let me go back. I want to go home. So they told me we'll walk you back home, and so we were walking back to my house. And as we were walking to my house, now as we were walking back to my house, this is the first time I remember my prayer. The whole night prior to that, I never thought about my prayer. I didn't remember it. It wasn't even a consideration. I didn't even consider it. So I remember my prayer, and I thought to myself, I said to God, God, if you don't want me living like this, change me. But I didn't expect Him to answer it. Um, so when I remembered my prayer, I started to question: is He really doing something in my life, or is this is a coincidence? I'm not getting high and I'm smoking weed, and I'm starting to feel real guilty. And I never felt guilty for the things that I did before. Never. Okay, I did horrible things, and I never felt guilty for them. I did terrible things. So I started questioning that, and then I told myself, no, it's not God. It's a coincidence. I just feel bad. No one in the back of my mind, I'm really thinking like, what's going on here? So as they're walking me home, about 6 feet away from us, as I said those words to myself. Now, you can take it for what you want, but I'm going to just be honest with you. The reason why I'm even talking to you about Jesus right now, telling you why I believe in Him, is because of this experience that I had when I was 16 years old. As I thought those thoughts to myself and said to myself, this is not God, this is a coincidence, me and my 5 friends almost got struck by lightning about 6 feet away from us. A bolt of lightning came. I'm an electrician by trade, commercial electrician. I've done it for years. I run job sites in Florida, or I used to anyway. But I almost got struck by lightning. Now we could have died, almost getting hit by lightning that close to us. But I thought I was gonna die. It was the scariest thing I ever experienced in my life. All I saw was white light. I mean, I thought my eyes would have burned out, and we all freaked out. We took off running every different direction, and like I said, I thought I was dead. So a couple minutes later, when we got collected and we got back together, we are talking about what just happened and freaking out. I mean, completely freaking out. Me freaking out on the inside because they didn't know what was going on in my mind. I was freaking out even worse because I just said to myself, is God speaking to me and answering the prayer that I prayed to Him a week before? And when I said to myself, no, this is not God, it's a coincidence, literally right after I said that to myself, I almost got hit by lightning. So I'm thinking, what's going on here? When I saw I was okay, a few minutes later, like I said, the Bible says the heart of man is deceitful and desperately wicked above all things. Who can know it? When I saw that I was okay a few minutes later, I literally told myself that that was not a sign from God. That was a coincidence. Um, when I said that to myself, I immediately felt 10 times worse in my heart, in my inner man, not my think beating in my chest, but my conscience felt 10 times worse because deep down I knew it was God. But I did not want to believe it. When I said that to myself, I felt 10 times worse. I told my friends, go back to the party. I want to go home the rest of the way by myself. I don't want you guys to walk in. I want you guys to walk the rest of the way with me. Um, so I went home by myself. When I got home, I went straight to my bedroom. And by this time, my guilt was so heavy and so real that it was like a load. Okay, it was like a weight on me, and I couldn't understand why I felt so bad about the things that I did, and in my condition, in my state of life. I never did before. It wasn't like I was trying to do this. It was just actually, reality was, I guess, manifesting itself to me. And so this is what I said when that happened. I said, God, I'm sorry. When I didn't expect this to happen. I didn't ask for it to happen. I didn't know it could happen. When I said, God, I'm sorry, I felt, haven't seen with my eyes, I felt the living God walk into my bedroom. Now you may say, how is it that you felt God walk into your bedroom? Many people have their opinions about what I actually experienced, and I'm sure I'll hear some from the people that actually watch this. But unless you experience what I experienced, all all you just giving is an opinion. Okay? I felt the living God walk into my bedroom, and I didn't kneel down to pray like people do, Our Father prayer. I didn't do that. I literally lost all strength in my body, and I hit the floor. I fell down on my face, and I began to weep uncontrollably. It felt like the most pure, most holy, most perfect and spotless being in the universe. His presence came into my room, and I actually comprehended what I look like to him. I actually saw myself in the light of his eyes. I comprehended what sin was from his perspective. It felt like somebody took me in a sewer and literally saturated me in the nastiest, worst filth that you could ever imagine. This is what I looked like. This is what I actually felt like. And that's why I said I began to weep. I literally could not stop crying. Tears were coming out of my eyes. And for 2 hours, all I could say was, God, I'm so sorry I didn't know you were so real. I'm so sorry I didn't know you were so real. I couldn't say anything else because to me, God was this person, even though I believed that there was a God, he was impersonal. He was just this guy up there with a big cane with a long beard, the judge waiting to whack me on my head. That's pretty much what I thought about God. I didn't understand that this God was actually real and he could manifest himself to you. And so I fell asleep crying right on my floor. I fell asleep crying. When I woke up the next day, again, everything that I'm telling you about, I didn't know was available. I had no idea that a person could experience this. When I woke up the next morning, it literally felt like somebody took, I can't even explain what type of water this would have to be. It felt like somebody literally took the most pure, cleanest water and literally washed me on the inside. This is what I experienced. Literally washed me. All the guilt that I had literally washed it away. And I was so filled with a joy that words cannot even express. It's indescribable. I was so filled with a joy that was inexpressible or indescribable. I could not believe that a human being could be this happy. I've had pleasure, okay, all kinds. I've experienced it. Nothing that I've ever experienced compared at all in any way to what I was experiencing. And I said to God, I'm a believer now because I didn't know this was even possible. I said, God, is this what you want to give to me? Is this what I was running away from? Is this what that I desired in my heart, but I didn't really want, because I prayed about it a week before, but I didn't know what I was praying for. Is this what you actually wanted to give me that I was running away from? Because I had, again, my preconceived notions about who God was. And the thing is, God will come and reveal himself to you. He'll show you who he is. Um, there's a lot of smart people on these posts, and I've studied a bit about, creation and different things like that. That's not really my field of expertise. Um, my field of expertise, because I am actually, I'm a minister, is the heart of man. Okay, God made our heart, and it's very valuable to him, and it's very precious to him. And because our heart's broken, the Bible actually says that Jesus came, one of the things that he came to do in Luke chapter 4 was to mend broken hearts, to heal broken hearts. And he healed me. He literally washed me clean. I literally had a joy. Again, I can't even express it. I used to be the type of person that never smiled, that never was happy. Like I said, I was a bad dude. When I went out of my bedroom to go to the bathroom, my mom walked past me in the hallway, and I didn't say one word to her. She looked at me, and she stopped, and she's like, "What happened to you?" Without us saying a word to her, she said, "What happened to you?" And I said, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You look like a different person. Why are you so happy? What happened to you?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Go look in the mirror." So I went in the bathroom and looked in the mirror, and I looked like, not, I mean, I looked like a different person. My face looked like it did things in joy. I mean, like it was euphoric. I couldn't recognize myself, basically, for lack of better words. I was so filled with joy that I couldn't express. I mean, I don't know, but I looked like a different person. Everything about my face. I'm telling you that to tell you this. There's two parts to man. Okay, there's the mind and there's the heart. And the Bible says that God made us in his image. He's a spirit. And God gave us a mind, but the mind is, think about this. If God is God, if he is who he says he is, he's the God of the universe. He's a super genius, okay? For me to be arrogant enough to say I can find God with my mind. Now, I may be able to if I had all eternity to do it. But to say I'm not going to believe in God because I can't understand him with my mind is the epitome of arrogance to me. But the Bible says that God is spirit. And it says that because he made us in his image and his likeness, he gave you and me a spirit. That's where sin manifests itself. Or heart. Same thing. Not the thing beating in our chest, but the center of man. He came first and foremost to deal with the spirit, the heart, and he communicates with the heart. So God, even though your mind can't grasp him, he wants to. Your heart can fully grasp him. Your heart can fully be convinced of the reality of who he is. And one of the problems to me is this. When it comes to the topics that we're discussing, it's like a person will never believe in God with the mind because they can't. Okay, believing in God comes from another part of our being, our spirit, because that can grasp God. Our minds can't. So I could try to convince somebody to believe in God with their mind the whole time, but unless they actually access that other part of their being, the heart. The Bible says the issues of life flow from the heart of man. The reasonings, the purposes, the desires, they come from the human heart or the spirit. God communicates with that. If you want to know who God really is or if he really exists, all you have to do is just ask him to reveal himself to you, just like I did. Now, I'm not going to make any presuppositions. I'm sure people are going to have their opinions about the experience that I just relayed to you. Some people are probably going to say I lied. Some people are going to say, well, you think it was this, but it wasn't. It was actually this, or it was actually really you or your subconscious. I've heard it all. But honestly, what I've experienced and what has me speaking to you right now, it had nothing to do with me. It was completely outside of me and revealed to me. And because God is a spirit and he communicates with your spirit, he can show and reveal to you things in the raw reality of of what they are in a way that your mind could never grasp it. Um, that's why the Bible says that God is spirit, and those that come to him or worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Or truth is reality is another word for truth. So I'm not knocking science. I don't knock science at all. I actually believe that true science points to God. Now I know some people disagree with me, but again, like I said, I mean, when people say that evolution doesn't deal with creation, to me, that's a cop out, because if evolution doesn't deal with creation, then its foundation has no meaning. Meaning, like if I did a mathematical equation and the very first set of numbers was 1 plus 1 is 2, okay, that's the beginning. And then I build everything on top of 2. If I say I don't know what the beginning is, 1 plus 1, everything that you build could be flawed. The foundation is flawed. If you build a house and it doesn't have a good foundation or a true foundation, it can come crashing down. And if you don't know where everything has originated, if you don't, you know, again, even if you don't believe in God, to say that there is no God is to say you know it all. Because nobody, from your perspective, from the mental perspective, nobody can grasp God, so nobody knows. Well, if nobody knows, there's 50% chance that you or I can be right. There either is or there isn't. So again, I mean, I know this is really long, and I'll get it if I get a chance. I'll respond to the other post that was after yours, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys where I'm coming from. And again, you know, I know people are gonna have. I've heard it all before. They're gonna say, "Well, you believe in God because of this, or you believe in God because of that, or whatever." Listen, you can't convince me because I had the experience. Okay, you can have the experience as well. This is the wonderful thing about it. The Bible says that God resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Meaning, if you actually just came to God and said, "God, listen, if you're real, prove yourself to me. Show me who you are." And I guarantee you that he will, because that's the reason why I believe in God today. Not because somebody told me to, not because, I felt that even that's something that I wanted to do. That's the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. I did not want to be a follower of Jesus because I had a misconception of who he was until he showed me himself who he was and then convinced me, okay? And you can too. Just ask, just ask. He loves you more than you know. And he thinks that you're amazing because he made you in his image, and he gave you purpose, he gave you value, he gave you life, okay? And we don't need to be like rebellious kids running around the place saying that there is no God, when God actually made you unique and special, okay? You have meaning, you have purpose, you design because you were made in the image of a designer, you create because you were made in the image of a creator. So just ask him, And again, I know there's more questions and stuff like that, but I felt like I wanted to post this. And if you guys, it's kind of long. So hey, if it's annoying, sorry, but I'll answer the other questions later.